Big decision just handed down the other day in relation to AI and LLM training, large language model training in authors versus Anthropic. The Northern District of California, the US court, came down with a decision very favorable to Anthropic on fair use. Now, fair use is a defense, as we'll see here. Comes from Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Essentially, fair use means that you are copying, but it's allowed for certain purposes. So fair use of a copyrighted work for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarships, or research is not an infringement of a copyright. In determining whether the use made of a work in any particular case is a fair use, factors to be considered shall include purpose and character of the work, of the use, including whether such use is commercial nature or non-profit educational purposes, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon the potential market or value of the original copyrighted work. And that's generally what they do. Here, I'm just going to jump to the end where the court gives their decision. But essentially what they conclude is that they granted summary judgment for Anthropic that the training use was a fair use, and grants that the print to digital format change was a fair use. So also taking it, and what they did was basically scan books from a physical piece into a digital. They're saying that, yeah, that's fair use. You're allowed to do that. And I believe they looked at, there was a Google case a number of years ago about that, about Google Books. And then they also said that not only that, but then taking that digital and being able, allowing the LLM to train on it was fair use also. What they cut out was there were some pirated libraries, pirated copies of books. And for those, they said, essentially, since you didn't legitimately have them in the first place, the fair use defense fails. So in prior videos, I've kind of equated what I expected to happen in a lot of these cases as to breaking it down to different things. First of all, there's the copying, were they making actual physical copies of whatever the LLM's trained on versus did they just somehow crawl the internet and learn from it? And what I equated it to was us as human beings, we read articles on the internet, watch videos, read books, and we're allowed to take that, learn from it, and then use that to create new works. What we can't do is then essentially spit out and make an exact copy of it. So here, I always equated the LLMs to being like human beings, that they're learning from the work, but they need to learn from a legitimate source. They can't, it seems like here the court's saying that it is actually okay to make a copy of it so that you can train on it, so long as you had the right to that in the first place. I don't know how they're going to treat, if it's like videos or other things that are available on the internet, but it seems like if it's freely available and you can learn from it and you're allowed to actually make a copy of it, then you're going to be allowed to continue to do that. Just because you're then training an LLM on it does not negate what you were allowed to do as a human, essentially. But if you're getting pirated copies or going behind paywalls and doing things you're not supposed to do, or in breach maybe of potential licenses, then they're not going to allow you to claim fair use. So I always said I think it was going to be very case by case basis and very specific, because even here, this might just be Anthropic is okay with some, the non-pirated books they used, but what about other things that they may have trained off, such as videos or other artwork, things like that? That's not part of this because this is really just the authors about their books that sued. So although this is good for Anthropic, it also could open them up still to liability on other areas. Sure that this is going to be appealed by the authors, and I don't think this is the end of it, but especially because this is just a district court, but it is a pretty good sign for Anthropic and for other LLMs that if they have legitimate rights to a piece of work, they are allowed to make a copy of it and then train off it. So we're, trying to give updates whenever they come up on these. There's a number of cases out there, and if you like this, please follow us and also like down below. Thanks, and feel free to let us know if you have any questions either in the comments or writing directly to us.